France is the center of fashion, cuisine, art, and architecture. Life outside the City of the Lights is very different than the average French human being. France doesn't just have one culture, it has many, because the word culture essentially came from France. French culture was influenced by the Celtic and Gallo-Roman cultures, as well as the Franks, a Germanic tribe. The most obvious thing about French culture is the language the majority speaks. The most spoken language in France is, of course, French, with 88%. About 3% of the population speaks German. In every country, there are different religions that separate themselves from other countries. Catholicism is the predominant religion of France. 64% of the population identify themselves as Roman Catholic. As any country would, French people take great pride in their country and are offended when someone talks down about their home. The known expression, chauvinism, means that one gender is better than the opposite sex, and this could also include race, sexual identity, etc. In France, people believe in equality more so than anything else. Many people say they take equality with a higher importance than liberty or fraternity, which are the other parts of their motto. No matter what their background, the Southern French are fascinated with food. Cooking styles have changed to become more fair and light, even though people still recognize French food to have more of heavy sauces and a complicated way to preparing food. Paris is known to be the home to many high-end fashion houses. French people dress sophisticated and professional. They don't wear inappropriate clothing and nothing too fussy. Clothing is a huge part of their lives, and it shows people what their personality type is. Art is a huge and main part of French culture because it's not in just large cities, but everywhere. Many of history's most renowned artists, including Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, and Camille Pissarro. The Mona Lisa and many other famous paintings are in Louvre Museum in France. Every culture has different holidays/celebrations than one another. The French celebrate Christmas and Easter just like Americans do. They mark May Day on May 1st, also known as Labor Day. Victory in Europe Day occurs on May 8th. It signifies the end of hostilities in Europe in World War II. Now that we know a little more about French culture, how is this different than American culture? One difference could include is how French people eat their food. There is one quote that explains the food culture in France, and that is, At breakfast we eat like kings, at lunch like lords, at dinner like servants." In France, cars and roads are much smaller than in America. Also, people smoke way more than anyone does in the USA, and there are more people who smoke. There is no main reason why. We can just guess it is like a hobby for them. In universities, they have 3-hour class periods with a small break in the middle. When in America, our class periods are much shorter. Teacher-student relationships are much more formal. Americans create more of a social bond with their instructors than French people do. The last difference is, everything in France is much more expensive than anywhere else. Knowing more about French culture can not only help us learn a little more about one another, but it helps us learn how to respond to each other. Learning to respond to one another is a key aspect in life and is how we function every day. People need to start standing up together as one community to let their opinions be known. As one, we are invisible, but together we are invincible.